In 1348, a boy named Thomas scrubs pewter tankards in a London tavern. He is 7 years old. His arms are slick with ale and tallow. Nobody finds this strange or cruel or remarkable. Thomas is not a child in any sense we would recognize. He is a small worker with small hands, useful for narrow spaces. You need to understand something. Thomas has no childhood to lose. The word exists, but the concept does not. He is simply a person who happens to be short. Philip Ariès published Centuries of Childhood in 1960. He examined medieval paintings obsessively. In every canvas, children wore identical clothing to adults. Their proportions were painted as miniature men and women. They drank, they gambled, they attended executions. There were no nurseries, no bedtimes, no lullabies in the historical record. In medieval Europe, children at 7 became apprentices, pages or servants in other households. This was socialization, not exploitation, not trauma, just life. At 7, Thomas leaves for another household. His mother does not weep. She has 4 more small workers. Thomas will learn to make barrels. He will sleep on straw beside men 3 times his age. Their breath smells of mutton and cheap wine. He does not know he is missing anything. You are watching this and you feel something tighten in your chest, that tightness, that protective horror that is the invention working inside you. That feeling was manufactured. Then Gutenberg, around 1440, metal type pressed into wet paper. Suddenly, knowledge required literacy. Suddenly, there was a gate between adult life and everything before it. Neil Postman argued in 1982 that the printing press invented childhood. A child was now someone who could not yet read. Childhood became a waiting room. Before print, knowledge was oral and all ages shared it equally. After print, literacy created a hierarchy. Adults who could read held secrets from children who could not. By 1800, children still worked. Enormously, grotesquely, but they had always worked. What changed was visibility. Farm labor was scattered across silent fields. Factory labor was concentrated in brick buildings in cities where journalists lived. The scandal of child labor was not its existence. It was its proximity to witnesses. You think the reformers saved children from factories? Some did. But Andrew Urey wrote in 1835 that factory owners wanted children gone. Children broke machines. Children fell asleep. Children required supervision that cost money. The Health and Morals of Apprentices Act of 1802, the first child labor law, it limited work to 12 hours per day, 12 hours for children. This was progress. The Factory Act of 1833 prohibited employing children under 9. It required 2 hours of schooling daily. Childhood was being constructed brick by legislative brick. The reform movement had 3 forces: humanitarians who felt moral outrage, factory owners who wanted efficient adult-only workforces, and a state that needed literate citizens for industrial governance. England's 1870 Education Act built schools. The 1880 Act made attendance compulsory. Children vanished from factories and appeared in classrooms. Age-graded classrooms. Before the Quincy Grammar School model of 1848, all ages sat together. Now 6-year-olds sat with 6-year-olds, 7 with 7. Childhood became a ladder with precise rungs. You sat in one of those rooms. You were sorted by birth year like inventory. You thought this was natural. It is 170 years old. Your grandmother's grandmother did not experience it. Then came the merchandising of innocence. George Eastman introduced the Kodak Brownie camera in 1900. $1. Suddenly, every family could photograph their children. Kodak's advertisements insisted these moments were fleeting, precious, unrepeatable. Buy film, capture the moment. The birthday party emerged in middle-class homes. Hallmark was founded in 1910. Cards for every milestone. Every year required celebration and purchase. Viviana Zelizer documented this transformation. Between 1870 and 1930, children shifted from economically useful wage earners to economically worthless but emotionally priceless sacred objects. In 1904, G. Stanley Hall published Adolescence, 1,373 pages, 2 volumes. He invented a life stage. Before Hall, you were a child, then you were an adult. After Hall, there was a swamp in between. He called it storm and stress. He drew on recapitulation theory. Adolescence mirrored humanity's savage past. This is absurd, but it stuck. You went through adolescence thinking it was biological destiny. A man at Clark University wrote it into existence in 1904. He was the first president of the American Psychological Association. He decided you would be confused for 7 years. But whose childhood was this? The Keating-Owen Act of 1916 targeted industrial work. Agricultural labor went unregulated. Most black children in the American South worked fields. Their childhood was not constructed, it was denied. Lewis Hine photographed 5,000 white children in factories between 1908 and 1918. Those images became propaganda. Black children in cotton fields were not photographed with the same urgency. Childhood innocence was a racial technology. White middle-class children were coded as innocent and in need of protection, while black children were described as precociously adult, dangerous, and undeserving of the same safeguards. Now the invention extends further. Jeffrey Jensen Arnett proposed emerging adulthood in 2000, ages 18 to 25, a new waiting room. The median marriage age rose from 20 for women in 1960 to nearly 29 by 2022. Helicopter parents hover into their children's 20s. Each new life stage is an economic buffer zone, a warehouse for people the labor market does not yet need. You are perhaps in this warehouse now. You're watching this video in a room where nothing is demanded of you yet. The invention keeps extending. Childhood was never about children. It was about managing surplus humans. Subscribe to witness more world-making events. Your inner child was assembled in a factory.